Before we begin, I want you to pause and do something simple. Type this in the comments. I survived what should have destroyed me. Because if you're hearing this right now, it's not by mistake. This is a message your soul needed. This is an answer your heart has been silently asking for. They tried to break you. They tried to ruin you. Not once, not twice, but again and again until they were sure you wouldn't recover. They thought you were too soft, too trusting, too forgiving, too open with your love, too slow to defend yourself. They mistook your silence for weakness. They thought your patience was proof you had no power. They looked at your wounds and assumed they had won. But what they didn't see was the shield I had placed around you. They didn't know you were surrounded. They didn't know I had already assigned angels to your situation. They didn't know the tears you cried were not signs of defeat, but seeds for your comeback. And now, something has shifted. Because while they were plotting, I was positioning you. While they were laughing at your pain, I was preparing your deliverance. They waited for your fall. But something terrible happened. And it didn't happen to you. It happened to them. They set the trap, but it caught their own feet. They lit the fire, but it burned their own plans. They cursed you, and now they're wondering why their own peace disappeared. You need to understand this clearly. You were never the one in danger. The real danger began the moment they touched someone I had already set apart. The moment they raised a finger against what I had chosen, they stepped into a fight they could never win. So now, I'm pulling back the curtain. I'm showing you what really happened. I'm giving you clarity. Because you don't need to guess anymore. You don't need to wonder why you're still standing. You don't need to question why your name is still protected. Why your spirit didn't break, why your future is still unfolding. It's because I kept you. And not only did I keep you, I made sure the very thing that was meant to end you became the reason you rose. The target on your back. They didn't attack you because you were helpless. They attacked you because you carried something they didn't understand. There's a light I placed in you, one that can't be hidden, one that shines even when you're quiet. It speaks before you open your mouth. It glows even when you feel broken. The truth is, you've been a light in dark places, and not everyone who walks in darkness wants to see clearly. Your presence reminded them of their own shadows. Your peace exposed their restlessness. Your consistency made their instability uncomfortable. Your kindness made their cruelty harder to justify. They couldn't explain you, so instead they tried to break you. They questioned your motives. They misread your intentions. They twisted your words. They used your past as ammunition and your heart as a target. But what they didn't realize is that they were never just coming after you. They were coming after my purpose in you. Because I placed something holy inside of you. And when they tried to tear you down, they were fighting against what I had planted. They weren't just challenging your name. They were coming against my name, written over your life. And I saw it all. Every whisper spoken behind your back. Every hand that pretended to help but was waiting for you to fall. I saw how they watched you struggle, but didn't offer comfort. They offered criticism. They didn't pray for you. They preyed on you. But listen closely, I allowed it. Not because I didn't love you, not because I didn't see the tears, not because I was absent. I allowed it because I was preparing you. You were never a victim. You were a vessel I was shaping under pressure. I let the attacks come, not to destroy you, but to reveal who you are and who they are. Because sometimes the only way to know what's real is to watch what people do when you're no longer useful to them. Sometimes the only way to see loyalty is to go through loss. So yes, they came for you. Yes, they tried to destroy your confidence. Yes, they tried to interrupt your progress. But what they failed to see is that every time they pushed you down, I was lifting you in secret. They thought the storm would sink you, but I used the storm to train you how to walk on waves. They thought rejection would silence you, but I used rejection to teach you how to listen to my voice instead. They tried to ruin your image, but I used it to rebuild your identity in me. You were never alone in the fire. You were never alone in the fight. They came after you because of the oil, and I allowed it, so I could anoint you publicly after they left. What they didn't know is that you were my instrument to test their hearts. Their actions weren't a test of your strength, They were a test of their own integrity, and many failed. But you passed. Not because you never cried, not because you always knew what to do, but because you never walked away from me. Even when you were hurting, you stayed close. Even when they betrayed you, you still chose love. Even when you were confused, you trusted my direction. And that's why I've kept you. That's why you're still here. That's why I didn't let their weapons work, because you are mine. And no one gets to destroy what I designed for glory. When they digged a pit, they didn't just speak against you. They planned your fall. They didn't just dislike you. They made it their mission to see you broken. They dug a pit step by step, thinking no one was watching. But I saw it all. They smiled in your face, then gathered in secret. They made jokes about your downfall. They counted you out before the battle even began. They waited for you to collapse under the weight of your struggle. And while they were laughing, while they were celebrating the trap they built, they didn't realize something eternal was at work. Because every pit they dug with their hands, I marked with my judgment. They thought your fall would be a show. They wanted to watch you lose everything, your peace, your joy, your name. They sharpened their words like weapons, expecting you to be silenced by pain. But what they didn't see coming was the shift I orchestrated. The trap they designed for your destruction became their own snare. The same hole they hoped you'd sink into became the place where their pride was buried. Because when you belong to me, there are boundaries around your life that no human can cross without consequence. They didn't just attack a person, they attacked a divine plan. And I don't ignore that. I don't turn a blind eye when injustice touches my chosen ones. I warned them, I stirred their hearts before they took action. I gave them chances to back away, but they ignored every nudge. They refused to stop. And so I responded, not with anger, but with justice. When I say, touch not my anointed, it is not a suggestion. It is a spiritual law, one that is enforced from heaven. When you are covered by me, anyone who lays a hand on you lays a hand on my promise, and anyone who lifts their voice to curse you is speaking death over their own future. That is why I say, vengeance is mine. I will repay. Not because I need to prove anything, but because I am a God of order, and I protect what is mine. So, yes, they thought they were being clever. They thought your silence meant they had won. They mistook your humility for helplessness. They believed their lies would overshadow your truth. But while they were digging that pit, I was building a bridge over it, just for you. You didn't fall in. You didn't get swallowed by shame. You didn't crumble under their attacks. Instead, you rose, not by force, but by grace. And now they're confused, because what they planned turned on them. What they built against you is now chasing them. I will not let the righteous be forsaken. I will not let the innocent be destroyed without response. I keep my word, even when no one else does. So remember this. Every time someone builds a trap against you, every time they dig a pit with evil in their heart, that pit becomes a mirror. They fall into what they created. And you walk away untouched, because I am the God who flips the plan and defends the ones I love. The divine reversal. There was a moment when even you began to question everything. You asked yourself in silence, why is this happening to me? Why does it feel like I'm constantly fighting battles I didn't start? Why are the people I loved walking away? Why do I feel so alone, even when I'm doing right? You thought you were being punished. You thought something was wrong with you. But I need you to know now, you weren't being punished. You were being protected. You weren't being abandoned. You were being separated. Because what you called loss was actually divine removal. What you called betrayal was actually my hand pulling the curtain back. I let the storm rise, I let the winds blow, not to destroy you, but to reveal what couldn't go with you. You didn't lose people, I removed them. Because their hearts were not safe for the next chapter of your life. The ones who betrayed you, they were never meant to stay. They smiled in your presence but spoke poison behind your back. They claimed to love you, but their loyalty had limits. And so I allowed the shaking, not to ruin you, but to uncover the truth that was hiding. They thought you were weak. They thought your silence was permission. They thought your pain would silence your potential. So they laughed, they gossiped, they clapped when doors closed for you. They watched from the sidelines and expected your spirit to collapse. But what they didn't realize is that I was right there, in the middle of it all. You cried, and I caught every tear. You felt broken, but I was holding your pieces. You were misunderstood, but I knew the truth. And while they celebrated your supposed fall, I was preparing your comeback. Something terrible happened, but not to you. To them. The moment they touched what I had blessed, the moment they tried to bury someone I was raising, they triggered a reversal they never saw coming. Some lost peace because they traded honesty for deception. Some lost sleep because their hearts were never clean. Some lost favor because they put their mouths on what I had anointed. It wasn't you falling apart, it was their schemes unraveling. You stood in the storm, and they assumed you were drowning. But I taught you how to walk on water. They tried to push you into the fire, but I joined you in the flames. You survived what was designed to break you, and now you're stronger. Not because you fought harder, but because I fought for you. What they meant for harm, I reversed into a platform. What they meant to destroy, I turned into a doorway. Their plan fell apart, their intentions collapsed, because they forgot one powerful truth: you are covered. And when someone touches what I've covered, they don't just lose you, they lose my favor. So no, you weren't losing, you were being lifted. I cleared the space so I could fill it with better. I removed the wrong voices so you could hear me clearly. I closed doors so you could stop begging and start building. I exposed hearts so you could stop doubting your own. This wasn't an accident, it was a divine reversal. And the proof is that you're still here, still breathing, still growing, still rising, not because it was easy, but because I never left you. What they never saw coming, what they never saw was your covenant with me. They saw your outer life, your struggles, your stumbles, your slow progress, but they missed the divine covering that was always over your life. They looked at you and saw just another person, just flesh and bone. They didn't see the hours you spent with me when no one was watching. They didn't see the prayers you whispered through tears. They didn't see the battles you gave to me instead of fighting back. They didn't understand the relationship between us. They assumed it was just you standing there. But every time they came close, they ran into something they couldn't explain. That something was me. Every curse they spoke, I intercepted, and I didn't just block it, I transformed it. I turned every evil intention into soil for your growth. They thought their lies would ruin your name. But I took those lies and used them to highlight your truth. I raised your reputation in places where they tried to destroy it. I opened new doors that their gossip could never close. Every time they tried to break your confidence, I used the pressure to build your character. They tried to shatter your spirit, but I used their attacks to make your faith unshakable. They didn't know that their resistance was only making you stronger. They didn't know that every weapon they used was giving me more room to reveal my glory through your story. They underestimated what happens when someone is chosen by me. Because when the enemy comes in like a flood, I don't panic. I raise up a standard. I lift a banner that says, "This one is mine." I surround you with peace when you should have fallen into panic. I cover you with protection when you're under attack from all sides. I guide your steps when the path ahead feels like chaos. You are not just walking by luck, you're walking under my covenant. And when someone tries to destroy a life I have sealed, they're not just touching you, they're provoking me. They didn't just stir your emotions, they stirred my judgment. They didn't just insult your name, they offended my purpose on your life. And I do not stay silent when my children cry. Every cry that left your mouth, I heard it. Every night you couldn't sleep, I stayed by your side. Every time your heart broke silently, I was holding you together from the inside. They may not have heard your cries, but heaven did. They may have laughed at your pain, but I was already writing your recovery. They never saw it coming, that the one they tried to bury was the one I was planting for greater things. They never saw it coming, that their words would boomerang back to their own lives, that their evil intentions would unravel in their own hands, that the pit they dug for you would become the place of their own correction. They were not ready for what happens when you mess with my promise. They didn't know the covenant. They didn't know I had spoken over you long before they ever knew your name. And because you belong to me, because you stayed close, because you didn't return evil for evil, I stepped in, and what they thought would destroy you became the very thing that destroyed their pride. Now you stand, not just because you made it through, but because I carried you through. You are here, not because of luck, but because of the power of my hand over your life. And that is what they never saw coming. Why you survived. You keep wondering why you're still here. You ask yourself quietly, why didn't it break me? How did I make it through that season? How did I survive what was meant to destroy me? Let me tell you now, it wasn't your strength. It wasn't your experience. It wasn't because you always said the right thing. You survived not because you were flawless, but because you were protected. Even when you couldn't see me, I was there. Even when your faith wavered, I stayed. When you were curled up in pain, I was the one holding your soul together. When people walked away, I remained. When the enemy came close, I stepped in between. There were days when you thought it was over, nights when you cried with no one to talk to, moments when the pressure was so heavy you didn't know if you could breathe through it. But I saw every tear, and not one drop was wasted. They tried to destroy you, yes, but they failed. Not because they changed their minds, but because I blocked their access. I broke their weapons before they could reach your door. I interrupted their intentions before they reached your heart. I covered your name when they tried to drag it. I secured your future when they tried to ruin it. I stood between you and the storm, and I took the hit for you. You don't even know how many rooms your name was mentioned in. How many tables they sat around trying to discuss your downfall. You don't even know how many whispers were spoken in darkness, how many strategies were laid against you in secret. But I knew. I saw it all, and I shut it down before it could begin. I canceled meetings meant to destroy your influence. I shut mouths before they could finish their lies. I rearranged timelines and rerouted your steps away from traps you never even noticed. You thought it was coincidence, but it was my mercy. You thought it was luck, but it was my intervention. They don't understand why nothing worked. They don't understand how you're still standing. They don't understand how someone so broken could keep getting back up. But what they don't realize is, you are not just standing, you are covered. You are not just breathing, you are preserved. You are not just surviving, you are being positioned. Because I didn't just save your life, I preserved your destiny. I kept the vision alive, even when you let it go. I protected the calling, even when you thought you weren't worthy. I defended your spirit, even when you were too tired to pray. You survived because you are my vessel. I handpicked you. I placed purpose inside of you. I sealed you with grace, and I surrounded you with a barrier no man can break. The world may see your scars, but I see your strength. They may only remember your fall, but I remember your faith. You're still here because I refused to let you be buried in what was meant to kill you. You're still here because I'm not finished writing your story. You're still here because what I've placed inside you must be fulfilled. So walk in peace now. You didn't survive by chance, you survived by my choice. They lost more than you know. You've often asked yourself, what happened to them? Why did things fall apart for them so quickly after they hurt me? Why does it seem like their peace disappeared? Let me answer that for you, not in anger but in truth. They lost more than you realize. They didn't just lose you. They didn't just lose the connection. They lost divine access. Because when you belong to me, when my hand is over your life, when you are walking in the purpose I created for you, you are not just an individual. You are a doorway to blessing. And when someone chooses to mistreat you, mock you, wound you, they are not just breaking your heart. They are closing a gate that I had opened for them through you. They didn't know the kind of favor I had attached to your name. They didn't know the peace I allowed them to experience because they were close to you. They didn't realize that just being connected to you gave them grace that they didn't earn. But they hardened their hearts. I whispered to them, they didn't listen. I stirred their conscience. They ignored it. I warned them in dreams. I nudged their spirit again and again. But they kept coming. They didn't come with repentance. They came with pride. They didn't come with humility. They came with harmful intention. They didn't come to build peace. They came to tear down what I had built. And so I had to handle it. Not because I hated them, not because I sought revenge, but because I am a God of justice. Because you are mine, and what they were doing was no longer just an offense, it became an act of rebellion. I gave them time to rethink, time to make it right, time to stop the cycle of cruelty and deceit. But they thought silence meant permission. They thought delay meant I wasn't watching. They thought grace meant they could do whatever they wanted with no consequences. And that's where they were wrong. Because when someone chooses to keep hurting what I love, when they push past every warning, when they laugh at every boundary I try to set, they don't just lose your presence, they lose my covering. And that's why their peace disappeared. That's why confusion stepped in. That's why opportunities stopped flowing. That's why they're restless, even in quiet rooms. That's why their favor dried up, because they didn't realize it was never theirs to keep. It was borrowed. It was a blessing connected to your obedience, your prayers, your heart. They lost things that can't be counted with money. They lost peace of mind. Because when you touch the innocent and refuse to repent, guilt becomes a shadow you can't shake. They lost spiritual alignment, because when you keep speaking against what I've blessed, you disconnect yourself from my flow. They lost favor they didn't even know they had, because I had been kind to them, even when they were unkind to you. But I am not a God who allows injustice to sit for long. So I stepped in. You didn't need to defend yourself. You didn't have to explain. You didn't have to retaliate. You didn't have to prove your worth. I did it for you. I exposed the truth. I stripped away their access. I rearranged what they thought was secure. And I covered you the whole time. Because this was never about revenge. It was about protection. It was about correction. And most of all, it was about justice for what was done in the dark. And while you were wondering if I saw, I was already working behind the scenes, not to destroy, but to make things right. Your season of public recognition. Now comes the part they never expected. Now comes the chapter they thought you would never reach. Because I always reward those who stay faithful through private storms. You held your peace. You stayed quiet when you could have fought back. You trusted me when you didn't understand. And now, I will do what I always do for those who remain in me. I will prepare a table before you in the presence of those who tried to destroy you. This isn't just a moment of restoration. It's a moment of recognition. The same voices that mocked you will now witness the favor resting on your life. The same eyes that looked down on you will now see you walking in rooms I've opened by my hand. The same people who were sure you were finished will now see you thriving. And they won't be able to stop it, but you won't need to clap back. You won't need to throw words. You won't need to give speeches. Your life will be the proof. I will honor you in a way that can't be denied. I will lift you up without noise. I will make it clear, not to humiliate them, but to confirm what I've always known about you. Your obedience was never wasted. Your patience was never in vain. Your quiet faithfulness touched heaven, and heaven will now answer in front of every earthly witness. You won't have to fight for recognition. You won't have to chase validation. I will make it visible. People will look at you and ask, how did they survive that season? How did they rise again after so much loss? How are they still smiling after everything that was meant to break them? And your answer will be simple. God fought for me. Because that's exactly what I did. I stood in front of you when you couldn't protect yourself. I covered you when they tried to bury you with shame. I spoke for you when your voice was silenced. And now, I will celebrate you publicly without you having to force a thing. You're stepping into a new season, not just of healing, but of recognition. Not just of peace, but of purpose. Not just of favor, but of fruit. And it's not coming in secret. It's coming right in front of those who thought you had nothing left to offer. They will see your rise. They will see your glow. They will see your name mentioned in places they never imagined. Not because of your strength, but because of my goodness. This is not revenge. This is reward. And I'm giving it to you because you endured without bitterness. You waited without cursing. You stayed planted when others would have run. You believed I was still working, even when everything felt quiet. And now I'm turning the page. Not only will you walk into better, you will walk into it with your head held high, because the same people who watched you break will now watch you bloom. Don't go back. Now that your eyes are open, now that you understand what really happened, now that the truth has been brought into the light, don't go back. Don't go back to what hurt you. Don't go back to the people who smiled while watching you bleed. Don't go back to the ones who made your storm heavier, who saw your pain and added more pressure. Don't reach for those who were never reaching for your healing, only your weakness. I removed them for a reason. I allowed the separation not to punish you, but to protect you. You may feel the urge to reconnect because your heart is soft, because you miss how things used to be, because your memory still holds moments of laughter and closeness. But I see what you don't. I see the motives. I see the future. I see the patterns, and I broke the cycle for you. Don't try to fix what I intentionally removed. Don't try to repair something I already revealed was built on lies. Not every loss is meant to be recovered. Not every relationship is meant to be restored. Some betrayals are not bridges to cross again. They are lessons to carry with you. You can forgive, but that doesn't mean you need to reconnect. You can release the bitterness without reopening the door. Forgiveness is obedience. Reattachment is disobedience when I've told you to move on. Some people are safer loved from a distance. Some connections are dangerous the moment they're reborn. And if you go back now, if you return to what I delivered you from, you may find yourself entangled in a deeper pain than before. I'm not bringing you this far just for you to look back. This is not a time for rewind. This is your moment of release. You don't have time to explain yourself to people I've already exposed. You don't have time to apologize to those who refuse to hear your truth. You don't need to prove your growth to those who only remember your struggle. That season is over. That chapter is closed. I am sending new people. People who will cover you in prayer, not gossip. People who will speak life, not lies. People who will honor what I've placed in you. People who don't need your pain to make them feel powerful. People who are aligned with your purpose, not threatened by your light. I'm sending new protection, because new seasons require new covering. I will shield your path from what once delayed you. I will surround you with wisdom, so you don't fall into old traps. And yes, I'm sending new elevation, but with it comes responsibility. You cannot rise while clinging to what was meant to be buried. You cannot soar while looking back at those who tried to clip your wings. I have more for you, but to receive it, you must trust me fully and let go completely. The past has had its time. Now it's time to walk forward, with your head lifted, your spirit restored, and your eyes fixed on what's ahead. Don't go back, because where I'm taking you, the old crowd can't follow. What you must do next. You don't need revenge. You don't need to prove anything. What you need now is readiness. While they were watching for your fall, I was setting the stage for your rise. While they were speaking against you, I was writing your next chapter. This season, you're walking into brace you. It won't need their approval. It won't need their applause. It only needs your obedience. So walk with boldness, knowing I go before you. Walk with humility, remembering where I brought you from. And walk in peace, because nothing they did has stopped my plan. You made it through. You survived the season meant to break you, and now, I'm about to make every part of your journey make sense. Stay ready, stay close, because what's next is greater than what was lost. Heavenly Father, I thank you for protecting the one listening. I thank you for shielding their purpose, their mind, their future. Where people tried to tear them down, you built them up. Where schemes were formed, you reversed every trap. Where pain was sent, you planted peace. Lord, give them strength to walk away from bitterness. Let them release what hurt them, but never forget what it taught them. Remind them they are covered. They are called. They are rising. From this moment on, may they never beg for what you removed, and may they never fear what you've already defeated. In Jesus' name, amen.